Good morning, everyone. It's Friday. It's a sunny day. We've got a great guest. Welcome to Biz Talk.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hey, everybody. It's a great day in the Fusion One Lounge. I'm Glenna Hum, and over here we have our marketing guru, Sarah Gilliland.
Good morning.
At Fusion One, we specialize in getting companies more calls and more business. And then we started Biz Talk so that we could highlight all of those businesses that we love and get some of their tips that everybody can use. But before we get started, I'm going to have Sarah put up where you can find us. Every Friday morning, we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And then the replays are on all of our channels. And don't forget our podcast at Marketing and a Mic. All right. We are all over the place. Today, we are so excited for our guest. She's going to have so much great information for all of you, especially you parents out there. I want to welcome Kerri Bailey with Child's Play Therapy Center. Good morning, Kerri.
Good morning. Thanks for having me today.
Well, thanks for coming on because like I said, I've known you for years and I know there's so much information that you have that's very important right now, especially. And so we're really excited to have you with us today. So
thank you.
We'll just go ahead and dive right in. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your background?
Okay. Well, I'm an occupational therapist and I started out working with adults many, many years ago, and then my heart was always to work with children. So when I had an opportunity to do that, I jumped on it. And so I worked for about 15 years as an occupational therapist in the local public school system. And then I decided I wanted to branch out and start my own business. And I started a company called Ability Resources. And worked on my own with that for a couple of years. And then I joined up with my friend, Deborah Boswell, who's a speech pathologist, and she had her own separate business. And we combined our practices, and that was in 2007, and formed Child's Play Therapy Center. So that's kind of how Child's Play got started, and we just haven't looked back ever since then.
Awesome. Yeah. See, I learned something new about you. We've known each other for, I don't know, 10 years? I don't know. It's probably longer than I think, but that's interesting. I don't know if I've ever heard your beginning story.
My story, yep.
Yeah, I was reading your background on your website, and it's incredibly impressive.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit more about Child's Therapy and all the services that you provide.
Yeah, our primary services that we offer are speech therapy, occupational therapy, and physical therapy. We also offer counseling services. We see a wide range of children. A lot of people, mistakenly might think that we only see children who have severe disabilities, children with multiple impairments, and that's not the case. If you were to walk into our building, you would see children that when you look at them, you would never even know that they had an issue that needed therapy. So we see children who have very, very mild concerns. But if you're the parent, it's not mild. It's important to you. So, we see a very wide range of children. We see all ages of children, all the way from birth, all the way up through the teen years. The services that we offer, just a little bit about those services. I'll start with speech therapy. Most people have a pretty good idea of what speech therapy is. So a speech therapist would work with a child who had any type of language delay. So maybe your child is 2 or 3 and they're not picking up words like they should, or they're not understanding what you say to them. Or, really a child of any age who's delayed with their language. And then also children, and this is what a lot of people think of with traditional speech therapy, is children that have articulation problems. And so maybe they're difficult to understand. So that would be our speech therapy services. And then physical therapy, Most people know physical therapy from an adult standpoint. With children, a physical therapist would work with a child who has motor delays. They're not meeting their motor milestones. Maybe they're not walking when they should or crawling when they should. Or then for older children, we work with children that have toe walking is kind of a common, but you don't think of it that much, but children that walk around on their tippy toes, our physical therapist address that. Any type of like difficulties with the back or the hips, our physical therapist would address that. And they do work some with children that have had injuries too, like sports injuries and that type of thing. And then occupational therapy, which is what I am, is the most misunderstood of the three. Nobody knows what occupational therapy is. But if you think about what are the occupations for children, a child's occupations are things like learning to care for themselves, learning to do the things they need to do to be independent. And then school is a child's occupation, and all the things that you think of related to school success and being able to participate fully in everything that involves school. And then thirdly is play, and play is probably the most important occupation for children. So if a child is struggling with full participation in any of those areas, maybe they have delays in their fine motor skills, which is making it a struggle for them at school. Maybe their social interactions are poor with other children. Also, sensory impairment is a big thing that occupational therapists address. So maybe environments that are loud or very overwhelming to children, or we see children that get very stuck on one type of clothes. They'll only wear this particular type of t-shirt because everything else is scratchy. Or picky eaters is another area. So, when we say picky eaters, we're not just talking about a kid that won't eat broccoli. We're talking about a kid that they eat Chick-fil-A chicken nuggets and orange soda, and that's it, and we're trying to expand their diet. So that's kind of in a nutshell what our three services do. And then counseling is a service that we've recently added. We really wanted to expand our mental health services because, children experience anxiety and fear and depression just like adults do. They just express it in different ways.
Yeah.
And so our counseling services addresses that. And really from the beginning, when Deborah and I combined our businesses, one of our goals was to provide sort of a one-stop shop where a parent could find anything that their child might need under one roof outside of medical services. That's really, the only thing that we don't offer is any type of medical services, but otherwise we want to be able to provide whatever you need.
Well, and that's important because, a parent may notice that there's something that may not quite be right or might be a little bit off. They have no idea where to start.
Right.
And it's so good that you offer all of those things so they can trust that and not think, well, I don't know if they can handle this or not. So I think that's great.
Yeah.
More well-rounded.
Yeah. Sometimes a parent will call us and of course, one of the first questions we ask is, what are your concerns? And the parent doesn't even know what type of therapy they need. They just know that their child is struggling in a certain aspect of life. And then when we talk through it, we can guide them in the right direction.
Perfect. Well, we have a couple people joining us this morning, a couple early birds here. We have Roxy Kelly. She says good morning. And we also have Steve Johnson joining us. He was on a couple weeks ago. Say good morning to both of you, and thanks for tuning in. Well, Kerri, I know that you have several locations. So where are those locations? And tell us a little bit about what's going on with each one of them.
Okay. Well, our main location, our largest location, is in Hoover. And we have about 8,000 square feet of space there. We're in the Georgetown Place building on the corner of Lorna Road and Georgetown Drive. And then we have a location out in Chelsea, which is our newest location. It's only about 2 years old. It's right off of 280 behind the Winn-Dixie in Chelsea. And then we have a location in Huntsville. And our Huntsville location has some exciting growth going on. We are getting ready to move at the end of this month into a new space. It's going to be about 3 times the size of our current space in Huntsville. So we're really, really excited about that, getting geared up for the move. We have never had enough space in Huntsville to offer physical therapy, and we've just hired our first Huntsville physical therapist. So we're excited about that. So when we move, we'll be able to offer that service there as well.
Oh, that's exciting. I didn't realize that either.
Yeah.
That's a big move, especially right now with everything going on.
Yeah, it actually all kind of transpired before COVID. So
it's like,
it's probably a good thing. Yeah, it's probably a good thing because we probably would have chickened out if it had been after COVID. But anyway, it's happening.
Well, the kids still need your services and things are starting to get back. Well, I'm not going to say the N word, normal.
Yeah, yeah.
I know. So talking a little bit more about your services, you talked about occupational therapy is a lot more misunderstood. I wanted to ask you a little bit more about, it was feeding therapy. Mm-hmm. So does that fall under occupational therapy, or is that kind of a whole separate entity?
Yeah, it does. It falls under occupational therapy. In some settings, you also find speech therapists working with feeding. It just kind of varies from place to place. It's one of those things that there's some overlap between speech therapy and occupational therapy. In our setting, most of the children we work with feeding difficulties, it is a sensory-based feeding disorder. So it's not a physical issue. It's more a sensory or even a little bit of a psychological issue. So the occupational therapists address it because they're the ones that really work on those underlying sensory issues, like I talked about a minute ago. It may just be that the child can't tolerate the texture in their mouth. They gag easily because of textural sensitivity. So if it was more of a physical issue where the child had a physical reason that they couldn't swallow or couldn't chew or couldn't move their tongue a certain direction, in that case, it usually falls more under speech. So it's kind of how when we evaluate the child and determine what the underlying issue is. And of course, in a lot of cases, we work collaboratively together on it.
Mm-hmm. And you said ADD, ADHD as well? Because we had talked about that it's not just severe disabilities that you see. Yeah. A real spectrum. So that's also falls under the service.
Absolutely. Yeah, because a lot of children with attention deficit are going to have some of the other problems that we've already talked about with the sensory processing. A lot of times that carries over with children with attention issues. Children with attention issues need help with self-regulation, which is basically the ability to recognize that, hey, my body is getting out of control, I'm not focused, and how to get themselves back into control. And so that's something that our occupational therapists work on as well. We have a program that we kind of developed ourselves called Focal Point that is an intensive program for children with attention deficit.
Wow, just so much. So many things. Also have a few more people joining us. I want to say good morning to Cindy Edmonds, Daniel Intrican, Gail Mason, and Kelsey. Our Kelsey is joining us. You're supposed to be on the beach, Kelsey.
Yeah.
Maybe she's on the beach watching us.
Oh, goodness.
So I'm sorry, Sarah, did I run in front of you?
No.
Okay.
Not at all.
What age groups, Kerri, are we talking about that you see? What is the age range, or what are the age ranges?
Yeah, we see children all the way from infants through teenagers. So pretty much any age child. We don't see a lot of babies, but typically if we're seeing a baby, it's usually going to be either a baby with torticollis, which is a pretty common problem these days, where an infant will develop tightness on one side of their neck, and it prevents them from being able to be well aligned through their neck. So our physical therapists work with that. Sometimes it's a result of the baby staying in one position too long. So a lot of times these days, babies spend a lot of time in a carrier or a swing or something like that, and they don't get out on, back in our day, babies laid on the floor, and in a playpen and that kind of thing. Those things don't exist too much anymore. But sometimes that will result in a baby developing that torticollis in their neck. So our physical therapists are trained to address that, and it's usually corrected pretty quickly. And then we also have an occupational therapist who is specially trained in infant feeding. So if it's a baby that's having difficulty with nursing or bottle feeding, she knows how to work with the baby and, of course, with the mom on how to address that. And then our older children, well, first of all, the majority of our children probably fall between ages of 3 and 9. Mm-hmm. That's the bulk of the kids that we see, because a lot of times you don't know that your child has any kind of a difficulty until they're around 3 years old. And then those early school age years, we address a lot of issues with that. But then when you get to the older kids, we see a lot of the older kids for speech that are still struggling with articulation problems and also with stuttering or fluency, as a speech therapist would call it. And my business partner, Deborah, that's really always been her passion and her love, is working with people who stutter. So although she doesn't directly work with clients anymore, she has trained a number of our speech therapists specifically in that area. So we do see a fair number of older children and even some young adults. That's one of the areas that we have even expanded a little bit above the teen years, and sometimes we'll see some young adults that are still struggling in the area of fluency.
Interesting. Gosh.
Yeah. Wow. I know. So if you're a parent and you've got concerns, what would be the initial process for their first evaluation? What are all the steps in that?
Yeah. Well, the first thing they would do is just call our office. And of course, you're going to call the one in your geographic location. And they will just take you through a series of questions. And like I said, one of the first things they're going to ask is what your concerns are, so that we know how to best meet your needs. We will get some information from you about, your insurance and your schedule and what kind of daily scheduling needs you would have. And then we will send you some forms to complete. One of the main things that we need back from a new parent is what's called the child case history, because the therapist who is going to see the child will read over that and already have a pretty good knowledge of your child before you ever walk in the door. Depending on what kind of insurance you have and what type of services you're getting, we might also need to get a prescription from your physician, and we take care of that. We'll call your doctor and get them to send over a prescription. And so then once we have all that in place, we'll give you a call back and get you on the schedule for your evaluation.
Perfect. I think you have a lot of experience getting that all set up, don't you?
Yes, we do.
Done it for a few years. We have Levon also, Levon Cheney, good morning. And Daniel has the same question that I was getting ready to ask you. There's Daniel. How is the COVID, we call it the COVID crap, and that's probably not appropriate talking about therapy. How has it affected your business, and what things has Child's Play Therapy done, or how's it look at Child's Play Therapy?
Well, initially, we closed, like most everyone did, on March the 23rd and went completely to teletherapy. So teletherapy was a brand new venture for us. We had only 1 or 2 therapists on our staff who had ever done teletherapy before. So the week before that, I guess that was the week of March the 16th, we knew that we were getting ready to close, and we sort of had a crash course on teletherapy. And so we continued to see children through that week of the 16th in the clinic as we prepared. And then beginning the 23rd, we went totally to teletherapy. And so teletherapy, a lot of parents didn't know what that meant. They thought, well, we're just going to be on the phone with you. How in the world is that going to work? And so basically we have a platform that we use that's called ClockTree. And you log on and we can see you and your child just like we're seeing each other today. And the therapist guides, of course, the parent has to be with the child, or some adult has to be with the child. And the therapist will just help you use things that you have in your home, toys that you already have, or, just regular household items. And they just conduct the therapy session virtually. And the therapists were very, very pleased with how well it worked. And it also kind of gave us some insight into the home and into the family that we didn't have when the child was coming in, especially, for example, with feeding. We have a lot of times that the parent will say, well, he'll eat that for you in the clinic, but he won't eat that at home. And so when we were doing the therapy virtually, we were able to see the kid in their own kitchen with their mom and kind of problem solve through why they weren't having the same success at home that we were having in the clinic. So in a lot of ways, it was really beneficial to the children to do teletherapy. We reopened our clinic, did kind of a soft opening the end of May, and then a full opening in June. But we're still offering teletherapy as well. So we're doing what we call a hybrid model now, because we've got some children that do really well coming into the clinic and not so great on teletherapy. So they're able to come in, and then we are still able to offer the teletherapy for any families that aren't comfortable bringing their child to the clinic just yet, or maybe the child or maybe the parent has underlying issues that makes them more vulnerable. And so we're really thrilled right now to be able to offer either of those options. As far as the people that are coming into the clinic, we are taking a lot of precautions. Our waiting rooms at all 3 locations are closed. The therapists are meeting the parents at the doorway and bringing the children in. We're still allowing one parent to come in with the child if they want to, but only one parent, no siblings. And we're screening everyone with temperature checks and screening questions, of course. We all know those screening questions by heart by now. And also just a lot of extra cleaning. Our therapists all have big tubs outside of their rooms, and every single thing that they use in a therapy session that the child touches, or even that they touch, goes into that tub. And then we have folks that are coming around grabbing those tubs, cleaning everything, and then returning them back. So we've actually hired additional staff in order to be able to handle all that.
Wow. How the world changes, huh?
Yes. Well, yeah, so much so. I mean, it really is. It's just a different time right now. And kind of touching on that and all the new procedures in place and kind of building that level of comfort with parents. You had mentioned that there's, especially right now, that all these changes can bring on some added anxiety, not only with the parents, but also with the children.
Right.
So what kind of a tip, so to speak, for lack of a better word, would you suggest for any parents that are dealing with that type of new anxiety with this whole COVID?
Yeah, sure. That we're all facing, right? I think the first thing would be just to model a positive attitude with your child, because your child is definitely going to take their cues from you. So if you model a positive and upbeat attitude, they're going to carry that over. And also regarding modeling, try to speak positively about decisions that other families may be making that are different from yours. Especially right now, where some families are choosing my child's going to go back to school, and some families are choosing my child's going to stay at home. So just, you can use words like, everybody's doing the best they can right now, and what's best for them may not be the same thing that's best for us. So just modeling, encouraging thoughts and words. One of the main things is keeping a routine for your child. Every child, even when we're not going through a crisis, every child functions better when they have a routine. But I think if you have a calendar that children can look at that kind of says what's going to happen each day, that gives them a sense of security, a sense of sameness. As the world seems to have gone crazy, we want to give them that sense of sameness. And have some things on that calendar that they can look forward to. Even very simple things like Friday night's going to be movie night or Tuesday's going to be taco night, just so that they have happy things that they can see on their calendar that they're looking forward to. And then have a lot of grace with your child right now, because as children are having anxiety, just as we are as adults, we have ways, hopefully, that we can channel that in appropriate manner. But a lot of times for children, that's going to come out in acting out behavior, temper tantrums, meltdowns. And, let's be honest, we'd all probably love to have a good old meltdown right now. Yeah. And so when your child does that, just, have a little bit of extra patience and grace than maybe you would have had before. And just understand that kids are experiencing the same feelings that we are, and they just express them in different ways.
Yeah, that's so important. It's true. We don't think that they're picking up on things, but they absolutely are.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's your turn. Is it you? Because I know we get lost sometimes, don't we?
I don't know. I'm just paying so much attention to what she's saying. I'm like, I'm so in the moment.
That happens. We lose track when we just get right into it. So
where are we? What are we doing?
Yeah, okay.
All right. Your website has so much information, especially they have bios of all the therapists, which I think you and I have talked about. Those are some of the most visited pages that people look at when they come. So what should parents know about how each one of your therapists, the training and stuff that they've had at Child's Play?
Well, all of our therapists are licensed and certified. We require them to maintain the highest credentials. And of course, they have a wide range of experience. We have, therapists who have many years of experience and some that don't have as much experience. But when we hire therapists who are newer, our supervisors mentor them and make sure that they understand all of our policies and procedures and how to handle anything that might come up. We also provide a lot of training for our therapists. We want to make sure that all of our therapists are cutting edge with their skills, and that's always been a very high priority for us.
Fantastic. Well, Alan Young is joining us. He said, I so wish I had all this info when my kids were younger. It's amazing, all of the things that you can help families with, Kerri, and it's so important to get that information out there.
Yeah, very much so. And along with I love the little bios that you have on each of the therapists. I think that's so wonderful. And in addition to that, you have a tremendous amount of resource that parents can come and read, of checking on milestones and a blog, activities. I mean, it's absolutely wonderful. But I wanted to ask you, so we talked about the initial evaluation process. So what happens after that? So the first visit, and when they come into your center, what are all the steps that they can look for?
Yeah, the first visit is really going to be mostly about making the child feel at ease and developing a relationship with them. We want the child to feel like they came somewhere and played and had fun. It doesn't need to feel anything like going to the doctor or anything like that. And then we also want to make sure we establish a good relationship with the parent at that first visit and find out truly what the parent's concerns are. We ask questions like, what would success look like for you? And we want to set goals that are important to the parent, because as a therapist, I might be able to evaluate your child and come up with some goals. But if the biggest problem that your family is having right now is that your child doesn't sleep through the night, and I don't address that, then maybe I've missed the whole point. So it's important for us to listen to the parent And then we will do some observation of your child, doing just some different play activities, depending on whether they're there for speech, occupational, or physical therapy. Those activities are going to look really different. And then we, in most cases, will do some formal testing at that point as well. Again, we try our best even to make that formal testing feel like play to the child, but it gives us some baseline information that we can set our goals and can measure progress from there. So usually that first visit is going to be anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour. And the child's going to leave there with a prize and feel like, they had a great time.
Yeah.
Awesome. Tell us, what is your website address? Because I know you have a lot of things on there, and tell us what people can find on your website as resources.
And
our website, you got it down there. There we go. It's childsplaytherapycenter.com. And as was mentioned before, we have a tab on there specifically for parents, and it will answer some more questions about what that first visit looks like. There's frequently asked questions. We also have a tab that's our blogs, and our therapists who have different areas of expertise will occasionally write a blog post for us about their area of expertise, or even, something like what we talked about today about how to help children through anxiety. So you'll find all types of blog posts as well.
Perfect. And I also know a great source of information is your Facebook page.
Yeah.
You guys have a lot of followers on your Facebook page, but you really have great information every single day, it seems like, on that. So that's also a fantastic resource.
Yes, absolutely. So info@childsplaytherapycenter.com. And the phone number, if you want to reach out directly, of course, it depend upon the location. Is that correct? But the main line,
does. The one on the scroll is our main location. But certainly, if you go on our website, you can find the phone numbers for each location.
Yeah. And again, for the podcast, that's childsplaytherapycenter.com. So you should be able to find all the info that you need there.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I want to say we're get to the point where we're going to wrap up, but I wanted to ask if you have any current or upcoming programs, anything that we might need to know about or parents would like to hear about, of anything that's in the works.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we had to cancel all of our summer camps this year. This is the first year since we started the company that we haven't had summer camps, which has been really sad. But we do still have some of our special programming, like the Focal Point program I mentioned earlier for attention deficit. We also offer Orton-Gillingham therapy, which is a strategy for reading. And several of our speech therapists, you don't really necessarily think about speech therapy with reading, but because of the connection of language to literacy, our speech therapists are very well equipped to work with children with reading problems. So we have that Orton-Gillingham, program. And then let's see, also, one thing I wanted to mention is that all of our therapists, or almost all of our therapists, have been trained in trauma-informed care. And when you think about childhood trauma, this is, children who have either been through hard places and hard experiences, or currently are, like maybe they're in foster care, or they've been adopted, or they've been abused, or even been through a divorce, And like we were saying earlier, we've kind of all been going through trauma right now. But our therapists have had some very specific training on how to work with children who have been in trauma situations.
Wow. Yeah, that's very important right now. For sure.
There is.
Well, Kerri, who are the best referral partners for you? So that can bring you more business. Who do you work best with?
Well, most of our referrals come direct from parents, because the parent knows their child better than anybody, and they usually are the first ones to have that gut feeling that something's not quite right. But we also get referrals from physicians, and of course that's mostly pediatricians, but we also sometimes get referrals from psychologists, psychiatrists, even dentists, optometrists, and then teachers are a good referral source for us as well.
Okay. Fantastic. Well, can you think of anything that we haven't mentioned or any? I know we've covered a lot of topics, but anything else that you'd like to cover before we jump into the hot seat?
I don't think so. I think we've covered just about everything, but just know that our staff loves your child, and they really will go above and beyond to make sure that you and your child have a good experience.
Fantastic. Well, we're going to do something a little bit fun here. It's called the hot seat. So we'll get ready for that.
Yep. Just going to switch it up real quick. It's the hot seat.
All right.
Okay, this is just a little fun we like to have at the end of each segment, just to kind of lighten things up a little bit. It's only 60 seconds, so you can make it through.
I better get myself ready here.
Never fear, just say the first thing that comes to your mind when, well, maybe not the first thing.
Right.
You have the timer.
I do.
All right. Okay, Kerri, Monopoly or checkers?
Monopoly.
Introvert or extrovert?
Introvert.
Goldfish or Cheez-Its?
Goldfish.
That kind of goes in line with what we're talking about. Dark chocolate or white chocolate?
White chocolate.
Cooking or cleaning?
Cooking.
Flowers or candles?
Candles.
Boat or airplane?
Boat.
Leather or lace?
Lace.
Sneakers or flip-flops?
Flip-flops.
Amusement park or water park?
Water park.
What is your favorite decade?
I'd have to say the 70s.
Okay. Would you prefer a drama or comedy show?
Comedy.
And what's your favorite season of the year?
Surprisingly, it's summer, even though it's hot. I love summertime.
Well, that's the end of our hot seat. Thanks for playing along. We always have fun doing that.
That was pretty easy.
Yeah, not too bad at all. Well, we do want to thank you so much. That's so much great information, and we really appreciate you coming on with us this morning.
Thank y'all for having me. I enjoyed it.
Well, we want to tell everybody thanks for joining us today, and we will be back on Tuesday at 8 for our marketing mix segment, and we'll also be back next week again for Biz Talk. Friday at 8, we have Mary Margaret Lopez and Ashley Sellers with Hydro High. So until then, we'll see y'all later.
Bye-bye.